The following Earth Angel Media presentation is brought to you commercial-free as a gratuity from the sponsor producer named after the show. Please consider their message. Find other high-value shows listed at earthangelproject.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Health Freedom Radio with Jessica Steele and Jordan Fisher. Whole health conversations to elevate your life, your health, your wealth, and your legacy. Learn with us, then share with others.
Have you ever noticed how we treat our bodies kind of the way a frantic homeowner treats a house with a crumbling foundation?
Oh, absolutely. Like the roof starts leaking, so you just run out and buy a bucket.
Right. And then, a window cracks, so you buy some duct tape.
Yeah, it's a completely reactionary loop. You're just responding to the loudest alarm.
Exactly. You're running from room to room, entirely focused on these individual symptoms of the collapse, and you're just completely ignoring the fact that the ground underneath the house is literally giving way.
You're trying to silence the alarm rather than investigating the electrical grid that actually triggered it.
Yes, exactly. And that reactionary loop is exactly what we're dismantling today. So welcome to a very special, comprehensively expanded training edition of our deep dive.
It's going to be in a big one.
It really is. Whether you are prepping for a client meeting, maybe a clinical consultation, or you are just, intensely curious about optimizing human physiology, this is your blueprint. Our mission today is highly specific.
And incredibly important.
Definitely. We are delivering a grounded, PhD-level masterclass on the LivePURE Core product bundles, specifically within the worldwide pure ecosystem.
Which is, frankly, a conversation that is desperately needed in the current wellness landscape.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I want to plant our central thesis right here, right at the start, so you know exactly where we are heading for the next hour or so.
Lay it out.
LivePURE's core bundles represent a fundamental shift from isolated supplementation to terrain-based nutritional architecture.
Right.
And the game change here is not the bundle discount. The game change is the philosophy. LivePURE teaches the user to build the human terrain instead of chasing one symptom at a time.
I am incredibly glad we're tackling this because, for brand partners and especially for health professionals who are looking to integrate nutraceuticals into a clinical framework, understanding this philosophy, this architectural shift, is the dividing line. Well, it's what separates a purely transactional supplement sale from an actual transformational health strategy. We are moving away from just reading ingredient lists and we're diving into biological ecosystems.
Okay, let's unpack this because I don't want to just list off a bunch of products like I'm reading a table of contents.
Nobody wants that.
Right. I want to understand the profound science, the clinical rationale, and the specific biological mechanisms that make this system work. And to do that, we have to talk about why these core bundles matter in the first place.
Yeah, the why is crucial here.
You mentioned the wellness landscape earlier. I look at the standard consumer approach to health and I call it the whack-a-mole method.
The whack-a-mole method. That is a highly accurate assessment of modern consumer behavior.
You know the drill. You wake up, your knees are clicking and aching, so you go to the pharmacy and buy a bottle for joint pain. Whack. You smash that mole. But then, like a few days later, you realize your digestion is a total mess. So you run back to the store, stare at a giant shelf of probiotics, pick one totally at random, and take that. Whack.
And then you can't sleep.
Exactly. Your nervous system is wired, so you buy a melatonin isolate. Whack. You're just buying all these isolated, disconnected bottles for isolated, disconnected problems.
And the irony is, the consumer thinks they are being proactive. They really do. But the marketplace is actually designed to keep them in that reactionary state.
It's profitable to keep them guessing.
Exactly. Most supplement companies are perfectly happy to sell you isolated products to address isolated concerns because it creates an endless cycle of purchasing.
Right.
They market a single active ingredient for a single subjective symptom. What makes LivePURE's approach so novel, what actually disrupts this whole marketplace dynamic, is that they refuse to formulate just another isolated pill. They built a coordinated sequential system.
But if I'm playing devil's advocate here, why is a system inherently better? Like if my head hurts, I just want a headache pill. Why do I need a whole architecture?
Because your body doesn't operate in a vacuum. A symptom in one area is almost always a downstream manifestation of an upstream deficiency.
Or an imbalance.
Exactly. If we go back to your house analogy, putting a bucket under a leaky roof doesn't fix the roof. The shift in perspective here is massive. Instead of staring at a wall of random bottles and asking, what pill do I take to silence this specific alarm, the user is guided through a logical biological sequence.
So the question changes.
Entirely. The focus shifts from what pill do I take to how do I build a body that has the fundamental cellular capacity to perform, to recover, to repair, and to adapt.
So it's really about reducing the noise and giving the user a literal map.
Precisely. It organizes the support. It cures that marketplace confusion.
Okay, so let's define the actual territory of that map. We keep using this phrase, terrain-based architecture. When we say terrain, what are we actually talking about biologically? Because it sounds a bit like we are landscaping a yard.
Well, if we look at the historical context, the concept of the biological terrain actually dates back to 19th century physiology. The idea of the milieu intérieur, or the internal environment.
The internal environment.
Yeah. In the context of LivePURE and the terrain code, the fundamental principle is that the human body is inherently programmed to heal itself. It strives relentlessly for homeostasis.
So it wants to be balanced.
Right. Our goal, and honestly our only real physiological responsibility, is to optimize that internal environment, the terrain, so the body can do its intrinsic work unhindered.
Wait, I have to push back here. Are we saying the supplements are what do the healing?
No, absolutely not. And that is a critical distinction for any brand partner or practitioner to make. The supplements do not heal you.
The body heals you.
Exactly. The supplements are simply providing the biological raw materials. And we must be intellectually honest here. These formulations are exactly that. They are supplemental.
Supplemental to what, exactly?
They are supplemental to a clean, active, intentional lifestyle. The terrain code lays this out beautifully. You literally cannot out-supplement a sedentary, toxic lifestyle.
Right. You can't build a strong house on a swamp, no matter how good your lumber is.
That's a great way to put it.
The source documents actually get very specific about this lifestyle foundation. It's not just the standard eat well and exercise. It talks about progressive resistance training, specifically aiming for 10 or more sets per week per muscle group.
Yes.
Why that specific metric for the terrain?
Because mechanical tension on the muscle fibers signals the body to increase bone mineral density, it improves insulin sensitivity, and it upregulates mitochondrial function.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you were literally demanding that the terrain become more resilient. It also requires daily mobility work to maintain the integrity of the fascial network. And then, of course, there is hydration.
And hydration isn't just chugging a gallon of plain tap water, right? The notes emphasize specific mineral matrices.
Right. If you just drink plain demineralized water all day, you are actually flushing electrolytes out of your system.
Wait, really? You're dehydrating yourself on a cellular level?
Essentially, yes. To maintain the terrain, the cellular pumps, specifically the sodium-potassium ATPase pumps, require strict mineral balances. We are talking about a target of roughly 3,500 milligrams of potassium daily.
3,500, that's a lot.
It is, and that needs to be alongside optimal calcium and magnesium ratios. Without those minerals, your nervous system simply cannot conduct electrical impulses effectively.
So we have movement, structural tension, mineralized hydration, and then there's the circadian aspect, right?
Yes, aligning with circadian rhythms. So getting bright morning sunlight in your eyes to signal the suprachiasmatic nucleus to suppress melatonin.
Which elevates cortisol so you can wake up.
Exactly, you want that appropriate waking energy. And conversely, avoiding artificial blue light at night so the terrain can enter a regenerative state. All of this physical and behavioral architecture sets the stage.
Okay, so let's zoom in on the internal mechanisms. Inside this terrain, we have massive metabolic filtration systems. The sources highlight the liver's detoxification pathways.
A vital part of the terrain.
And I have to be honest, usually when people talk about detoxing, it sounds like total pseudoscience. Like, drinking lemon water and cayenne pepper for a week.
Right, the trendy juice cleanses.
Yeah, exactly. But we are talking about actual biochemistry here.
We're talking about highly specific enzymatic processes. The liver is the body's premier chemical processing plant, and it operates in distinct phases. Phase 1 detoxification involves a family of enzymes.
Let me stop you before you drop the jargon. The notes mentioned, let me read this, cytochrome P450 enzymes.
Yes, cytochrome P450.
Hold on, you can't just drop cytochrome P450 and expect me to nod along like I know what that means. Explain that to me like I'm a freshman in biology.
Fair enough. Think of the cytochrome P450 enzymes as a specialized demolition crew inside your liver cells.
Okay, demolition crew, I like that.
When a toxic fat-soluble compound enters your body, say a pesticide from your food or even just a byproduct of your own metabolism, it is locked in a fat-soluble state. It can't be easily excreted.
It's stuck.
Right. So this demolition crew, phase 1, comes in and uses oxygen to crack that molecule open. They oxidize it.
Okay, they crack it open. Is it safe now?
Not at all. In fact, by cracking it open, they often make it highly reactive. It becomes a free radical intermediate. It's like pulling the pin on a grenade, but not throwing it yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's temporarily much more dangerous.
That sounds like a terrible biological design flaw.
It would be if it weren't for phase 2. Phase 2 detoxification steps in immediately. This is the conjugation phase.
Conjugation meaning joining things together.
Precisely. Different enzymes take that reactive, cracked open molecule, the grenade, and they attach or conjugate another larger molecule to it.
Like what?
They might attach a sulfur molecule or an amino acid or glutathione. By attaching this new molecule, they neutralize the threat and transform the whole thing into a water-soluble package.
Water-soluble.
Yes. Now, it can be safely flushed out of the body through bile or urine.
That is fascinating. So supporting the terrain means ensuring the liver has the exact micronutrients, the sulfur, the amino acids, and the botanical support it needs to run both the demolition crew in phase 1 and the packaging crew in phase 2.
Exactly. And without running out of supplies, if phase 1 is running faster than phase 2 because you are missing key nutrients, you get a buildup of those reactive intermediate grenades, which causes massive systemic inflammation.
Okay, so if that is the terrain, the physical body, the lifestyle parameters, these complex liver pathways, how do the LivePURE bundles actually map onto that biology?
It's a structured progression.
Right, so walk us through the exact blueprint of the worldwide pure ecosystem. I want to clearly visualize this product ladder. Where does a person begin?
You begin at the foundation, which is appropriately named Core Base. This is the modern entry point into the entire system.
Core base.
Core Base consists of 4 distinct products: Cleanse, GoYin, Daily Build, and Calcium K+.
And what's the logic there?
It is designed to address the absolute non-negotiables of a functioning terrain. We're talking elimination of waste, balancing of autonomic stress, foundational micronutrient repletion, and structural mineralization.
Now, I need to pause here because I want to make sure we don't confuse listeners who might have been interacting with this brand for several years. Core Base is not the exact same thing as Core 4, correct?
That is a vital distinction, especially for brand partners. Core 4 is the historical legacy model. Core 4 is not Core Base.
Okay, so what's the difference?
The Core 4 bundle includes Cleanse, GoYin, Daily Build, and Focus with Energy.
Okay, so let's look at that architecture. Core 4 swaps out the mineral and bone support of Calcium K+, and replaces it with a cognitive drive layer, the Focus with Energy.
Right.
Why the shift? Why is Core Base the modern standard over Core 4?
Both are incredibly valid foundations. However, from a pure terrain building perspective, ensuring structural mineralization and deep sleep support via Calcium K+ addresses a more universal biological deficit.
People are just lacking minerals.
Severely. Many people need to rebuild their mineral reserves before they start pushing their cognitive drive. But again, both exist to serve slightly different initial needs.
Got it. Core Base uses Calcium K+. Core 4 uses Focus with Energy. But regardless of which base you start with, eventually you want to expand, right?
Yes.
Where do we go next?
That takes us up the ladder to Core Plus. This is the expansion tier, where the body's systems receive targeted supercharging.
Core Plus, what's in it?
Core Plus takes the core base, so you have your Cleanse, GoYin, Daily Build, and Calcium K+, and it layers on 3 critical components: Focus with Energy, Organic Sulfur, and Mila.
Okay, so we are bridging that foundational nutrient repletion with cognitive drive, massive connective tissue support from the sulfur, and actual functional physical food from the Mila Chia.
It weaves a much wider safety net for the terrain. You are supporting the physical structure, the cognitive output, and the gut microbiome simultaneously.
It's very comprehensive.
It is. But the ultimate expression of this philosophy, the absolute pinnacle of the architecture, is the final tier, Core Complete.
Core Complete. What gets added here to make it complete?
Core Complete takes everything in Core Plus and adds the profound superfruit phytonutrient layer. We are talking about introducing Acai, Noni, Goji, Mangosteen, and the Fusion Blend.
Okay, we are going to dive incredibly deep into every single one of those products and their mechanisms.
We have to.
But before we get to the botanicals, I need to ask you about a regulatory and validation tool that comes up constantly in the source material. The PDR, the physician's desk reference.
Yes, the PDR.
If I see that a product is listed in the PDR, does that mean my doctor is going to prescribe it to me like a pharmaceutical? Are they going to write a script that says, take 2 GoYin and call me in the morning?
That is a very common but fundamental misconception. So let's clarify this immediately for both the consumer and the practitioner.
Please do.
The PDR is a documentation and reference layer. It is a tool for clinical transparency. It is absolutely not a medical approval. It is not a pharmaceutical endorsement, and it should never be framed that way by a brand partner.
So what is its actual utility? Why do we care if it's in there?
It exists to provide standardized, verified data. When a patient walks into a clinic and says, hey, I am taking this botanical supplement, historically the doctor has no idea what is actually in that bottle.
Right. There's no standardization in the supplement aisle.
Exactly. But if a product is in the PDR, the practitioner has a verified reference point to understand the exact ingredients, the clinical intent, and the safety profile. It takes natural wellness out of the shadows and brings it into a professional, transparent light.
It puts the cards on the table.
Precisely.
So within the LivePURE ecosystem, which products have actually met the criteria to be PDR listed?
The verified PDR listed products are Cleanse, GoYin, Daily Build, Calcium K+, Focus with Energy, and Organic Sulfur.
Now, wait a minute. I'm looking at the ladder we just built, and I notice a major omission.
The superfruits?
Yeah, the superfruits. Acai, Goji, Mangosteen, Noni, none of those are on the PDR list.
What?
Why? Are they not clinically valid?
No. It has nothing to do with the lack of clinical relevance. The superfruits Acai, Goji, Mangosteen, and Noni are not listed in the PDR group simply because they do not meet the highly specific criteria for inclusion, given that they are 100% extracts from nature.
Oh, I see.
The PDR tends to favor complex formulations over single whole food natural extracts. However, their biological impact is immense. Brand partners can and should deep dive into the specific peer-reviewed benefits of these superfruits at worldwidepure.com, targetedneeds.com, and livepureacademy.com.
Okay, the map is drawn. We understand the biological terrain. We understand the 4-tier bundle ladder. We understand the PDR documentation. Let's get our hands dirty and get into the actual product, starting with step 1 of the core base, cleanse.
The foundation.
Right, because, going back to our house analogy, you cannot build a beautiful new structure on a foundation that is overflowing with trash. This is all about elimination.
It is the biological, non-negotiable first step. Think back to our discussion on the liver's phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification.
The demolition and packaging crew.
Right. If the liver successfully neutralizes the toxin, packages it up, and dumps it into the colon via bile, but the colon is sluggish and not moving, what happens?
The trash just sits there.
Worse than sitting there, the colon is highly absorptive. If transit time is too slow, those packaged toxins can actually be cleaved apart by gut bacteria and reabsorbed right back into the bloodstream.
Wait, really?
Yes, you run the exact same toxicity through the liver again, doubling its workload. So, Cleanse is formulated to ensure that doesn't happen. It is designed to gently relieve occasional constipation and ensure proper transit time.
And the star botanical driving this action is something called Cascara sagrada, Rhamnus persiana.
Yes, the sacred bark. The indigenous use of this aged bark is extensive, but the modern botanical science in our dossier is what's truly fascinating.
Let's hear it.
The active chemical components in this dried bark are known as hydroxyanthraquinone glycosides, specifically identified in the literature as cascaricides A, B, C, and D.
Okay, hydroxyanthraquinone glycosides, that's a mouthful.
It is.
How do they actually work inside the human body?
Yeah.
What is the specific mechanism of action from the moment someone swallows a capsule of cleanse?
This is where botanical intelligence is so elegant. These glycosides are technically what we call prodrugs.
Prodrugs?
Yeah.
Meaning they aren't active yet?
Exactly. When you swallow them, they are completely inert in your stomach. They travel through your highly acidic stomach and through your entire small intestine without being absorbed. They only activate when they reach the large intestine.
Why? What is waiting for them in the large intestine?
Your gut microbiome. Your specific native gut bacteria produce enzymes that cleave the sugar molecules off of these glycosides, transforming them into their active aglycone forms called anthrones.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying the botanical is essentially inactive until our specific gut bacteria unlock it?
Yes.
That is incredible. And what if someone's microbiome is totally wrecked from a terrible diet or, antibiotics? Does the cleanse still work?
It's a brilliant question. Yes, even in a compromised gut, there are usually sufficient bacterial populations to initiate this cleavage, though the efficiency might vary. This is why supporting the gut with fiber, like we will discuss later with Mila, is so vital. But once activated by the bacteria, these anthrones do two highly specific things. First, they stimulate peristalsis.
The involuntary muscle contractions that push waste forward.
Correct. They act on the enteric nervous system to trigger those rhythmic contractions. But the second mechanism is even more interesting. They engage an enzyme called nitric oxide synthase, or NO synthase.
I know nitric oxide is a vasodilator, right? Like, athletes use it to get a pump and increase blood flow. What is it doing in the colon?
In the colon, stimulating nitric oxide production influences the permeability of the intestinal lining. It triggers the secretion of water and essential electrolytes directly into the lumen, the center of the colon.
Oh, I see.
This influx of water hydrates and softens the stool, ensuring a smooth, gentle, and highly effective evacuation without violent cramping.
That is a highly potent mechanism. But with any physiological trigger that powerful, we have to talk about safety guardrails. The source material is adamant that this is not a daily vitamin you just take forever.
Absolutely correct. And brand partners must be crystal clear on this. Cleanse is intended strictly for short-term use. We are talking about 7 to 10-day cycles. It is a targeted intervention, not a daily lifestyle supplement.
Why? What is the danger if someone just says, hey, I like how light I feel, I'm going to take this every day for 6 months?
Because you will ultimately undermine the terrain. Long-term, uncycled use of stimulating botanicals like Cascara sagrada forces the continuous secretion of water and minerals.
You're flushing everything out.
Exactly. Over time, this leads to a condition called hypokalemia, which is a clinically significant loss of electrolytes, specifically severe potassium depletion.
And we established earlier that the terrain needs 3,500 milligrams of potassium just to keep the cellular pumps working.
Exactly. If you drain your potassium reserves, your nervous system misfires, your heart rhythm can be affected, and your muscles will cramp and weaken. Overusing a cleanse works entirely against the philosophy of building the terrain. We use it as a tool to reset the elimination pathways, then we stop, and we allow the body's natural, unassisted rhythms to take over.
Use it as a tool, not a crutch. Clear the waste, then step back.
Okay.
So the physical pathways are open, the trash is out, but now we have to address a different kind of toxin.
The neuro-emotional side.
Yes, the invisible trash.
Yeah.
Chronic stress. This brings us to the second pillar of the core base foundation. GoYin.
Once the physical elimination pathways are cleared, balancing the autonomic nervous system is the next biological priority.
Right.
And this is where we bridge thousands of years of traditional Asian botanical wisdom with highly modern neurobiology. GoYin is the balancing blend. It achieves this by utilizing a specific, highly researched class of botanicals known as adaptogens.
Adaptogens. I see that word everywhere now. It's become a massive marketing buzzword. But biochemically, what does it actually mean? Do they just, adapt to whatever you want them to do?
Not whatever you want. They adapt to what the terrain requires to achieve homeostasis. Think of an adaptogen as a highly calibrated biological thermostat for the HPA axis.
The hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis.
Exactly. The autonomic nervous system operates in two primary gears. You have the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight response.
Right, cortisol spikes.
Cortisol spikes, adrenaline pumps, blood moves away from the digestive tract and into the skeletal muscles.
Ready to fight the tiger.
Right. And then you have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest, digest, and heal state. This is governed largely by the vagus nerve.
And I'm guessing most people are stuck in the first one.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
Most people in the modern world are not fighting literal tigers, but they are chronically stuck in sympathetic overdrive due to emails, traffic, financial stress, sleep deprivation.
Modern tigers.
Exactly. Their cortisol awakening response is blunted, their heart rate variability is low, and their internal terrain is frantic.
And if we connect this back to what we learned about the liver, if you are constantly in fight or flight, your body isn't allocating resources to phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification, is it?
Not at all. Digestion and detoxification are considered non-essential in a survival scenario. The body just shuts them down.
So how does GoYin fix this?
GoYin, through its complex matrix of adaptogenic herbs, supports the body's ability to modulate that stress response. It doesn't act as a harsh sedative that knocks you out, and it doesn't act as a stimulant.
It's a thermostat.
Right. It blunts the extreme spikes of cortisol and helps gently nudge the terrain out of chronic fight or flight, bringing the autonomic nervous system back into a parasympathetic state where deep digestion, liver clearance, and cellular repair can actually occur.
So we've cleaned the house physically with cleanse, and we've calmed the electrical grid with GoYin. Now the body is actually ready to rebuild.
It's receptive.
It's ready to receive nutrients. And that brings us to the third step, daily build, the broad-spectrum micronutrient repletion layer.
This is where we provide the foundational wellness block. Daily Build delivers a massive, comprehensive matrix of the essential vitamins, minerals, and enzymatic cofactors that are absolutely required for cellular metabolism.
Now let me play the skeptic again.
Go for it.
If I am strictly following the terrain code, and I am eating a beautiful, whole food, plant-predominant diet, I'm eating wild-caught fish, mountains of leafy greens, nuts, seeds, berries, why do I need to take a supplement? Shouldn't my perfect diet be enough?
Well, in a perfect world, a perfect diet would be enough, but we do not live in a perfect world. We live in a post-industrial agricultural system.
Ah, soil quality.
Yes. The reality of our modern food supply is dictated by severe soil depletion. We overfarm the land, stripping the topsoil of its trace minerals faster than the geological cycle can replace them.
That makes sense.
Add to that the fact that produce is often picked unripe to survive long transit times across the country, which actually prevents the plant from developing its full spectrum of phytonutrients.
So the broccoli I eat today doesn't have the same mineral density as the broccoli my grandparents ate.
Not even close. And when you combine environmental stressors with that nutrient deficit, you realize that even the most meticulously planned plant-predominant diets often suffer from subtle, subclinical micronutrient gaps.
So daily build is filling those gaps.
It acts as your biological insurance policy. If your mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells, are trying to run the Krebs cycle to produce ATP energy, they require specific B vitamins as coenzymes.
And if they're missing?
If those vitamins are missing, energy production stalls. Daily Build ensures that the enzymes running your liver, the mitochondria producing your energy, and the immune cells patrolling your bloodstream have every single raw material they need to function optimally. It closes the gaps.
Okay, that makes sense. It's the baseline fuel. But now we need to look at the physical structure that houses all of this, the scaffolding.
The physical framework.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final component of the core base, calcium K+. We are talking about bone density, teeth, and structural architecture.
And what's fascinating here is the sheer brilliance of the formulation science. It is so much more than just a generic calcium pill.
Let's break it down.
Let's look at the anatomy of this formula. One serving provides 500 milligrams of calcium derived from marine coral and calcium citrate.
Okay.
Calcium is fundamentally essential. Over 99% of it is stored in the bones and teeth, which act as a massive mineral bank for the body. But the 1% circulating in the blood is critical for triggering muscle contractions, nerve signaling, and blood clotting cascades.
Here is where I have a major question. The body is incredibly complex. If I just swallow 500 milligrams of calcium, how does it know where to go?
Right, the direction problem.
I always hear people use the cliche that vitamin K2 is the biological traffic cop, but what does that actually mean mechanically? How does a vitamin direct a mineral? Because if it just floats around in my blood, couldn't it calcify my arteries instead of building my bones?
That is the exact physiological danger of taking isolated, cheap calcium supplements, and it's why I dislike the traffic cop analogy.
It's not accurate.
It's not holding up a stop sign, it's acting more as a cellular foreman. The Calcium K Plus formula includes 45 micrograms of vitamin K2, specifically in the highly bioavailable form of MK7, which is naturally derived from the fermentation of a soy product called natto.
Okay, so what does MK7 actually do as a foreman?
Vitamin K2's job is to carboxylate, which means to biologically activate specific proteins in the body. Two of the most important are osteocalcin and matrix GLA protein.
Osteocalcin? Okay.
Osteocalcin is produced by your bone-building cells, the osteoblasts. But when it's first produced, it's inactive. It can't grab calcium. Vitamin K2 comes in, activates the osteocalcin, and allows it to literally bind to calcium in the blood and pull it deep into the bone matrix.
Wow. So without K2, the osteocalcin is essentially asleep on the job.
Yes. And concurrently, K2 activates matrix GLA protein, which is found in the soft tissues and blood vessels.
And what does that do?
When activated, matrix GLA protein actively binds calcium that is floating in the arteries and sweeps it out, preventing dangerous arterial calcification.
Oh, that is crucial.
So pairing calcium with vitamin K2 in the MK7 form is an absolute masterclass in respecting the body's biological cofactors. You are providing the brick, and you are providing the foreman who knows exactly where to lay the brick.
That is brilliant formulation. But looking at the label, it doesn't stop there. There is also a significant dose of magnesium in this formula. 200 milligrams of magnesium citrate.
Yes, and magnesium is involved in over 300 documented enzymatic reactions in the human body. But within the context of the terrain, let's focus on the nervous system and sleep architecture.
Sleep architecture.
The clinical polygraphic studies tracking brainwaves in relation to magnesium are astounding.
Polygraphic studies, like tracking REM sleep versus deep sleep.
Exactly. Studies evaluating serum magnesium levels show a profound correlation with the architecture of your sleep cycles. Magnesium binds to GABA receptors in the brain, which are the primary inhibitory calming neurotransmitter.
It quiets the brain.
Yes. When magnesium is adequately supplemented, EEG readings show a marked reduction in active, restless, shallow sleep and a significant increase in slow-wave, quiet, deep sleep.
And slow-wave sleep is where the terrain actually repairs itself. That's when human growth hormone is released.
Precisely. You cannot rebuild the terrain if you are not entering deep sleep. Furthermore, the European Food Safety Authority formally recognizes that magnesium contributes to the reduction of daytime tiredness and fatigue precisely because it regulates that neural excitation at night.
Okay, so we have calcium, K2, magnesium. But the source material lists a whole suite of other structural cofactors. I'm seeing boron, vitamins A and E, and trace minerals like chromium, zinc, manganese, and selenium.
Yes, a very specific matrix.
But the text explicitly calls out the specific form of these trace minerals. It refers to them as amino acid chelates. Why does that matter? Why not just use zinc oxide or selenium oxide?
This is one of the most crucial distinctions in all of clinical supplementation: bioavailability.
How well we absorb it.
Right. A chelate, or the chemical process of chelation, involves taking a raw inorganic mineral ion and chemically binding it to an organic amino acid molecule. Most cheap mass-market supplements use mineral salts, like zinc oxide.
And what's wrong with that?
The human digestive tract has a very hard time recognizing and absorbing those inorganic rocks. They require massive amounts of stomach acid to break down, and even then, absorption is minimal.
So it just passes right through you.
Mostly, yes. But when you chelate a mineral, when you wrap that zinc or manganese inside an amino acid, the digestive system looks at it and doesn't see a rock. It sees a peptide. It sees a piece of digested food.
Like a Trojan horse for minerals.
Exactly. The intestinal wall actively pulls that amino acid across the barrier using specialized protein transport channels, bringing the mineral along for the ride. The bioavailability skyrockets.
That's incredible.
So the zinc, manganese, and selenium in calcium K+ are actually bypassing the harsh digestive barriers and making it directly into your cells, where they can govern DNA synthesis, immune function, and endogenous antioxidant defense.
That is an incredibly dense, elegantly designed formula. And it rounds out our core base foundation. We have cleanse for elimination, GoYin for autonomic balance, daily build for micronutrient repletion, and calcium K+ for structural mineralization and deep sleep.
The terrain is primed.
The terrain is primed. But now we step up the ladder to the Core Plus expansion. And the first addition here is the cognitive layer. Focus with energy. I want to point out the phrasing here because it's specific. We call this focus with energy, not energy with focus.
That semantic shift is highly intentional. The legacy formulation was called energy with focus, but that hierarchy implies a massive, jittery, raw stimulant rush first, and maybe a little bit of concentration as a secondary afterthought.
Right.
The modern formulation, focus with energy, completely flips that biological paradigm. It prioritizes what we call intelligent energy.
Okay, define intelligent energy for me. Because when most people think of energy, they think of downing 3 shots of espresso and feeling their heart vibrate.
Right, which is just raw central nervous system overstimulation. Caffeine works primarily by blocking adenosine receptors in the brain.
Adenosine?
Adenosine is a molecule that builds up throughout the day and makes you feel sleepy. When you block it with a massive dump of cheap stimulants, you feel wired, but you aren't actually producing more cellular energy. You are just masking the fatigue.
And then comes the crash.
A devastating crash. When the caffeine wears off, all that accumulated adenosine floods the receptors and you experience deep physiological exhaustion.
So how does focus with energy avoid that crash?
Intelligent energy means prioritizing sustained mental clarity, neurogenesis, and cognitive drive. It provides specific botanical precursors that support the nervous system's capacity to concentrate, while supporting the production of things like BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which helps neurons grow and communicate.
So it's actual brain fuel.
Exactly. It provides fuel for the brain that respects the terrain's limits, offering a smooth, sustained elevation in performance without the subsequent adrenal exhaustion.
That makes total sense. We have the baseline nutrients, the structural minerals, and now the cognitive drive. But what is physically holding all this structural and energetic work together? That brings us to the second edition in the Core Plus bundle, organic sulfur.
Yes. If calcium K+ is the rigid structural scaffolding of the body, organic sulfur is the flexible connective tissue glue that holds it all together.
The glue.
Sulfur is actually the third most abundant mineral in the human body based on percentage of total body weight. It is the essential elemental raw material for cellular resilience.
Resilience, meaning it helps tissues bounce back from stress.
Mechanically, yes. Let's look at collagen, the most abundant protein in the body. Collagen forms a triple helix structure. What holds those three strands together in a tight, resilient coil are called disulfide bonds, literal bridges made of sulfur atoms.
And without it.
Without adequate organic sulfur, those bonds are weak and your collagen becomes brittle.
So this is about joint health and skin elasticity.
It is critical for the production of collagen, keratin for hair and nails, and the extracellular matrix that cushions your joints. Furthermore, sulfur is a necessary precursor for the body to synthesize glutathione, which is your liver's master antioxidant.
Oh, wow.
Whether you are a high-performing athlete putting heavy shear loads on your ligaments and tendons, or you are part of an aging population wanting to maintain mobility and independence, organic sulfur is the nutritional precursor that allows your physical structure to withstand the sheer mechanical demands of life.
Okay, the final piece of the Core Plus expansion bundle is Mila Chia. And this one stands out to me because it's unique. It brings real, physical, functional food directly into the supplement stack.
It does. Mila is a proprietary micro-sliced chia seed product. And while we noted earlier that it is a whole food and therefore not PDR listed like the complex extract formulations, it is an absolute biological powerhouse for the terrain.
Why chia? I mean, chia pets were a joke in the 90s.
Yeah.
What is chia actually doing for the internal terrain?
Two massive terrain-altering things. First, it provides a highly dense source of plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, specifically in the form of ALA, or alpha-linolenic acid.
Okay, omega-3s.
While the body has to convert ALA into the more active EPA, and DHA forms a process that has rate limits, providing a massive baseline of ALA, is vital for modulating systemic inflammation and supporting cardiovascular and cognitive health.
And the second thing?
The fiber matrix. Chia provides incredibly high-quality soluble and insoluble fiber.
Which ties perfectly right back to our very first step, cleanse.
Bingo! It creates a beautiful, continuous synergy. Think about the order of operations. Cleanse might be used cyclically for 7 to 10 days to actively reset bowel motility and clear acute backups.
Right.
But the daily, consistent fiber from Mila provides the physical bulk and the essential prebiotic fermentation material needed by the gut microbiome to maintain that healthy motility long term. It offers sustained macronutrient support that keeps the digestive terrain stable and functioning autonomously.
I love how these pieces interlock. It really is a designed ecosystem. Now, we're ready to reach the absolute pinnacle, the final layer that transforms the Core Plus bundle into the ultimate tier.
A final layer.
We are talking about the superfruit phytonutrient layer. Acai, Noni, Goji, Mangosteen, and the fusion blend. My question is, if I already have the foundational vitamins, the minerals, the cognitive drive, and the functional food, why do I need this extra phytonutrient layer?
Because this is where we introduce deep, concentrated plant intelligence into the terrain. Let's review the architecture. The foundation rebuilds your micronutrients. The minerals structure your bones. The adaptogens balance your stress. But the superfruits protect you.
Protect the terrain from what?
From the inescapable biological cost of living. Every single time you take a breath, every time your muscles contract during a workout, every time your liver's phase 1 enzymes oxidize a chemical, your body produces byproducts called oxidants or free radicals.
Oxidative stress.
Right. While a small amount of free radicals are actually normal and act as cellular signaling molecules, an overload generates a state of severe oxidative stress.
I usually hear oxidative stress described as biological rust. But that feels a little cliche. Let's look at it closer. Isn't it more like molecular vandalism?
I like that.
You've got these free radicals running through the cell, and they are missing an electron. So they are highly unstable, and they desperately mug other healthy molecules to steal an electron, which damages that molecule and creates a destructive chain reaction.
Molecular vandalism is a fantastic analogy. That is exactly what is happening at a subatomic level. They're ripping electrons off your cell membranes, off your mitochondrial walls, and even off your DNA.
That's terrifying.
It is. This process of oxidative vandalism plays a major documented role in the development of degenerative conditions, accelerated aging, and deep tissue damage.
So how do the superfruits stop the vandalism?
They provide a massive influx of antioxidants. Antioxidants are molecules that are generous enough to donate an electron to the free radical, neutralizing it without becoming unstable themselves.
They just hand over the electron.
Exactly. And these specific superfruits are nature's most elite, concentrated sources of diverse phytonutrients and antioxidants.
Let's break them down individually, because I don't want to just lump them together. Let's start with acai.
Acai is a palm fruit native to the Amazon basin. It has to survive in an incredibly harsh, high UV environment. To protect itself from radiation, the plant produces massive amounts of anthocyanins. These are the deep purple pigments.
Okay.
When we consume acai, those same anthocyanins provide incredibly high ORAC values, oxygen radical absorbance capacity, hunting down free radicals in our own bloodstream.
And what about noni? I've heard noni has a very distinct, almost fermented smell.
Morinda citrifolia, yes. Noni has been used in Polynesian traditional medicine for centuries. Modern research is fascinated by its alkaloid content, specifically a compound called proxarenine, and scopolamine, which has been studied for its ability to dilate blood vessels and modulate inflammatory pathways.
Then we have goji.
Goji, or the wolfberry, is a staple of traditional Chinese medicine, highly revered for supporting the liver and kidney meridians. Clinically, we look at the lycium barbarum polysaccharides, or LBPs.
LBPs, what do they do?
These specific carbohydrate complexes are actively being researched for their profound ability to modulate the immune system and enhance endogenous antioxidant enzymes like superoxide dismutase.
And finally, mangosteen.
The queen of fruits. The magic of mangosteen isn't just in the sweet white flesh. It's in the thick purple rind, the pericarp.
The rind.
Yes, the pericarp is overwhelmingly rich in a class of polyphenolic compounds called xanthones. Xanthones are some of the most potent, biologically active antioxidants ever discovered in nature, highly effective at interrupting that chain reaction of molecular vandalism you described.
And the fusion blend brings elements of all of these together.
Yes. By adding this final core complete layer, you are creating the absolute deepest, most protective expression of the LivePURE nutritional system. You aren't just surviving. You are giving your cells the armor they need to thrive and replicate without accumulated damage.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. We've talked about all these incredible ingredients, Cascara sagrada, adaptogens, chelated minerals, xanthones, but looking at the source material, it's clearly not just what is in the bottle. It's how it's formulated.
Absolutely.
I look at it like the difference between handing someone a list of raw ingredients for a cake flour, sugar, eggs, and actually knowing the precise techniques required to bake a Michelin star cake.
The recipe versus the execution of the baking, you were exactly right. Formulation science is everything, and it is where most companies fail. We touched on this with the amino acid chelation for the minerals, but that principle of synergy applies everywhere in the LivePURE ecosystem. Why do we pair vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and calcium together in one formula? Because they are biological cofactors. They require the presence of each other to function safely and effectively.
They need each other.
If you just take isolated calcium, you are guessing. If you take the formulated triad, you are directing the physiology.
So a good formulation respects the terrain's rules.
Yes. Formulations must respect the body's native elimination pathways, its strict enzymatic requirements, and its micronutrient sufficiency thresholds. LivePURE doesn't just throw 50 trendy ingredients into a vat and hope for the best. They architect highly specific solutions that the terrain actually recognizes, can absorb, and knows exactly how to utilize.
So if the formulations are that brilliant, why does the physical bundling matter so much? Now, I'm a customer, and I understand all the science now.
Yeah.
Why is a bundle fundamentally better than just going onto the website and shopping a la carte? Like, I'll take 1 cleanse, 2 GoYin, skip the calcium.
Because bundling cures the marketplace noise and prevents the user from accidentally sabotaging the sequence. As we discussed earlier, the modern wellness marketplace is deafening.
It really is.
If you shop a la carte, even with great products, you are likely still playing whack-a-mole based on what hurts that day. A bundle is a teachable sequence. Look at the logic of the foundation. Cleanse, balance, build, mineralize.
The bundle itself is an educational curriculum.
Exactly. It organizes the physiological support. It helps both the everyday user and the highly trained professional understand the correct order of operations in the human body. You do not build the roof before you pour the foundation. The bundles ensure automatically that you pour the foundation first.
That makes perfect logical sense. Now, let's pivot to the practical, educational side of this equation, because this deep dive is a masterclass specifically for the worldwide Pure ecosystem.
Right, for the brand partners.
If I am a brand partner, and I am sitting across from a potential customer, or even a friend who is struggling with their health, how do I actually talk about this sequence without sounding like a snake oil salesman making wild, unregulated promises?
That is the most important question a brand partner can ask. You must lead with education, and you must maintain absolute, unwavering responsibility in your positioning.
The golden rule.
The golden rule is simple. Do not overclaim. We do not cure diseases. We do not diagnose. We do not chase symptoms. We build the terrain.
So what is the exact compliant scripting a brand partner should internalize and use?
It is elegant in its simplicity. You teach them the ladder we just walked through. You say, core base gives your body a daily foundation by gently cleansing waste, balancing your stress response, rebuilding essential nutrients, and mineralizing your structural framework.
Yep.
Then you say, Core Plus takes that foundation and adds sustained cognitive energy, connective tissue support for your joints, and functional whole food for gut health. And finally, you say, Core Complete adds the ultimate superfruit phytonutrient layer for deep cellular protection against oxidative stress.
You position yourself not as a salesperson pushing a magic bottle, but as an educator offering a complete philosophy of health.
Exactly. I am not treating your symptom. I am helping you optimize your terrain.
I love that. But what if I am a professional practitioner? See, I'm a clinical nutritionist, a spa owner, a chiropractor, or a fitness expert. How do I fit these LivePURE bundles into a professional licensed practice?
This requires a highly professional clinical conversation. First and foremost, we must clarify unequivocally that Core products never, ever replace standard medical care. They are not pharmaceuticals.
Of course.
However, every practitioner in the trenches knows that patients and clients inevitably constantly ask the same question. Doctor, is there a more natural way to support my body? What else can I do?
Right. Doc, the surgery fixed my broken arm, but I'm exhausted, my digestion is ruined, and I can't sleep. What do I do?
Exactly. And historically, the professional has two bad options. They either shrug and send the patient away to search the internet alone, which is dangerous, or they try to piece together a dozen different brands from a catalog, hoping the formulations don't conflict.
A huge liability.
Now, with this system, the practitioner has a responsible, scientifically grounded, PDR-listed nutraceutical pathway to offer, a pathway that perfectly aligns with a whole health terrain-based practice. It allows the professional to provide high-level nutritional support within their scope of practice and clinical judgment, using a systems language framework that matches actual biological logic.
It bridges the gap between acute allopathic care and long-term holistic resilience. Okay, let's bring this all together into our final framework. I want to do a rapid-fire review of this entire system architecture, just to ensure the sheer elegance of the sequential ladder is crystal clear in everyone's mind before we wrap up.
Let's do it. Walk me through the ladder.
We start with cleanse. We are utilizing the glycosides in Cascara sagrada, activated by the microbiome, to gently stimulate the colon, clear the waste, and open the elimination pathway so the liver's phase 1 and 2 processes aren't bottlenecked.
Correct. Short-term use to reset the physical terrain and prevent toxin reabsorption.
Then we bring in GoYin. We use adaptogenic botanicals to calm the HPA axis and the autonomic nervous system, shifting out of sympathetic fight or flight and into a parasympathetic state where healing and digestion can actually occur.
Balancing the neuro-emotional terrain so the body's resources aren't depleted by chronic stress and high cortisol.
Next is Daily Build, the broad-spectrum micronutrient insurance policy that provides the enzymes, the mitochondria, and the cells with the essential vitamins and cofactors needed for metabolism, making up for modern soil depletion.
Rebuilding the core nutrient reserves.
Then Calcium K+, the structural scaffolding. Calcium for the bone bank, magnesium citrate for slow-wave deep sleep, trace minerals bound in amino acid chelates for maximum cellular absorption, and vitamin K2, the cellular formin, acting to activate osteocalcin and pull calcium into the bones, keeping it out of the arteries.
Mineralizing the foundation. And those 4 specific products, Cleanse, GoYin, Daily Build, Calcium K+, that is your modern core base.
Then we expand. We add focus with energy to provide sustained, intelligent cognitive drive without the massive adenosine stimulant crash. We add organic sulfur to provide the disulfide bonds necessary for resilient collagen and connective tissue. And we add Mila Chia to bring in functional, food-based ALA omega-3s and gut-stabilizing fiber.
That is Core Plus, bridging the gap between foundational wellness and active physical and cognitive performance.
And finally, the crown jewel. We add the superfruits: Acai, Noni, Goji, Mangosteen, and the Fusion Blend. The massive wave of phytonutrients and xanthone antioxidants to neutralize free radicals and protect the cells from molecular vandalism.
And that is Core Complete, the absolute, fullest, most robust expression of the terrain-based architecture.
So what does this all ultimately mean? What is the real value here for the worldwide pure ecosystem?
The ultimate value is that it creates true, sustainable ecosystem value where everybody wins. The consumer gets structural logic and a map out of the overwhelming confusion of the supplement aisle.
Right.
The brand partner gets a highly logical, deeply teachable model that elevates them from a salesperson to an educator. And the clinical practitioner gets a systems language framework validated by PDR documentation that safely complements their allopathic care. It is a win across the board, simply because it honors the way the human body was biologically designed to function.
This has been an absolutely incredible, illuminating masterclass. Thank you so much for breaking down the molecular science, the structural architecture, and the deep philosophy with such uncompromising clarity. And to you, the listener, I want to leave you with this final defining thought. We started this deep dive by talking about the whack-a-mole approach to health, chasing a headache here, a bad night of sleep there, staring at a wall of random disconnected bottles while the foundation crumbles. LivePURE's core bundles do not simply sell supplements to help you play that game better. They teach an entirely new philosophy. Build the terrain, support the interconnected systems, respect the body's innate design, and stop treating wellness like a random collection of bottles.
Because when the terrain is optimized, the body knows exactly how to heal itself. We just have to be wise enough to give it the right environment.
And here is something extra for you to mull over as we close. We hear so much today about the future of medicine being hyper-personalized, custom genetic testing, bespoke biohacking algorithms. But what if all of that highly advanced personalized science is totally useless if it's applied to a degraded, demineralized body? What if the true future of advanced longevity relies entirely on having a universally optimized foundational terrain first? You cannot run custom high-level software on a completely broken operating system. Take this knowledge, apply it to your own terrain, share it responsibly through education, and step confidently into a new paradigm of holistic health.
Thanks for listening to Health Freedom Radio with Jessica Steele and Jordan Fisher. We're glad you joined us, and we hope you enjoyed today's show. This episode was brought to you commercial-free thanks to our sponsor. Please take a moment now to listen to their message. We'll leave you with this. Your future is yours to own, and we're here to run with you every step of the way. Let's build it together. Subscribe, stay connected, and share this with someone who's ready to level up their life.
LivePURE is an American-based distribution system of online portals that give discounted access to clean, potent, natural, and ethically sourced healthy solutions for fat loss, muscle gain, clean skin care, immune system support, whole body cleanse, physiological balance, and performance support for athletes of all ages. LivePURE handpicks the best products and nutrients from world-class companies, always adding to their quickly growing wellness lineup that now includes Korean skincare, no-injection weight loss alternatives, medical-grade nutraceuticals listed in the physician's desk reference, and healthy coffee that rivals the world's best, but for only about $1 per cup. Listeners looking for youth, beauty, and better health can get wholesale pricing by visiting livepure.com/gateway and signing up for free as a preferred customer. Content creators, influencers, and virtual entrepreneurs looking for passive cash flows from emerging markets can profit from LivePURE's state-of-the-industry affiliate program, which provides up to 7 different payment vectors. Content creators aligned with LivePURE and Earth Angel Media will enjoy massive co-marketing benefits, including a personally branded website. Sign up as an affiliate brand partner at livepure.biz/gateway. Or drop us a note at earthangelproject.com. Check out the show notes for more details.